Hey, what's going on, Ram fans? I have Scott Richmond aboard to talk Rams football. What's going on, Scott? How you doing?
Hi, Mark. Hi, Rams Nation. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, it's been a little while, and I wanted to have Scott on for a couple of reasons. One, I wanted to give Paul and Ian a break. Man, we've been going nonstop for well, the entire season, and especially with the way the season ended, we all needed a little bit of a break. But I wanted to have you back on, and we'll talk about some of the things that Paul, Ian, and I will be talking about as well in the coming weeks. We're going to look at the Rams' unrestricted free agents with an eye on how that's going to impact their 2025 roster. And it'll kind of highlight the decisions the Rams have to make, the holes that will be created in the roster with these potential exits, what they should be focusing on. And we'll also I want to talk a little bit about some of the guys that are returning and if we are sold on them, on their performance moving forward. Some obvious names
Mhm.
are going to pop up, and I'll save that for when we get to it. Um, so let's get into it. Let's just say we have some decisions to make, right? A lot of
Yes.
decisions. And the first thing we got to decide is, well, let's take a look at these free agents. How many of these guys we're going to have to try to prioritize bringing back? And so these are unrestricted free agents, and we have tight end
hmm
Hunter Long. We have for those on the podcast listening audio only. I'll try to keep you up to speed on what we're looking at here. The unrestricted free agents on the offensive side of the ball, tight end Hunter Long,
hmm
three offensive linemen, Lyric Jackson, Joseph Noteboom, and Colin McDermott. Three wide receivers, Demarcus Robinson, Tutu Atwell, and Tyler Johnson, and our backup quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo. And before we start talking about these guys and the holes they're going to create in the roster, well, let's look at what an offensive depth chart would look like right now.
hmm
You have Cup and Whittington over on the right side, Nakua and Xavier Smith. Offensive tackles, Rob Havenstein, we're assuming he's coming back. And then three backup level guys, Warren McClendon, AJ Curry, KT Leviston. Interior offensive line, I think, is in pretty good shape. And I have noted on here the guys that are exclusive rights and restricted free agents. Kevin Dotson, Steve Avila, Bo Limmer, Jonah Jackson, our expensive free agent,
hmm
Dylan McMahon, who we poached from the Eagles practice squad. Three tight ends would remain: Tyler Higbee, Colby Parkinson, Davis Allen. Our special teams is pretty well set: Evans, Carty, and Ward. Quarterback Stafford and Bennett, and we'll talk about Stafford. And every year this time of year, the
hmm
retirement rumors circulate,
Of
and
course.
and then the running back situation: Kyron Williams, Blake Corum, Cody Schrader, and Ronnie Rivers. So let's go back and look at these free agents here. Now, Hunter Long, I'm a kind of a fan of his. I think
hmm
he's been productive when he's had his opportunities. My gut feeling
hmm
on someone like Hunter Long is, why would he want to stay if he's not getting the opportunities? I think we'd like to have him back, but I just don't think it's going to be a priority. And one thing you have to remember about free agents, unrestricted free agents especially,
hmm
is it takes two to tango. You're going to have these conversations about, how could the Rams let that guy walk? Why did they not
hmm
bring him back? Sometimes the player doesn't want to come back, and
hmm
I have this gut feeling Hunter Long may fall into that category. So, how do you feel about the tight end situation, and with Hunter Long's potential exit?
um, like you, I like Hunter Long. I think he provides value as a backup. I think contractually, I think he would be worth it. He's looking at over the cap. His his salary cap hit this year was 1.3 million, not very much. His valuation, they have him all the way up close to 3 million. So if you wanted to sign him in free agency, you might have to average him out at 2 to 3 million a year, which I think is, let's say, compared to Colby Parkinson, would be a deal.
Right.
And that would lead me to Parkinson and say that I think they've got to find a way to let him go. I just don't think he's worth the. I got his dollar figure here
Yeah, I
for
guess the question is when we make those decisions, what's the dead cap hit if you move on from
yeah.
someone like him?
Um, if the Rams walked away from Parkinson this upcoming year, we would save about 3 million in space, but we would add 6 million to the dead cap. So
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, and
Go ahead.
yeah, I was just going to say the unknown is Tyler Higbee, how much longer he can play, getting up there in years,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
we're not going to get we'll do a mock draft here in a bit, but we know whether we agree with it or not. You have to suspect Sean McVay's going to have an eye on some of these top tight ends in the draft. It's a really good draft for tight ends, so there's that as
Yes.
well. Now, so you sounds like you're leaning towards retaining Hunter Long if possible, and maybe considering moving on from Colby Parkinson. And I suspect the Rams will draft a tight end, especially if they can add picks. Now,
Yeah, because
I,
it's.
I
Mhm.
go ahead.
I was going to say, I think if Rams fans noticed, Rams were dressing 4 tight ends there near the end of the season
Right?
and
Yeah,
playing
yeah.
2 quite a bit. So I'd have to say I'm looking for them to draft one high, and I'm looking for them to still use Higbee as one of the primary starters. I would like Hunter Long as a backup,
Davis Allen.
and Davis Allen. Yeah, that I
Yeah.
think that would be Davis Allen, Long, and Higbee with a high round draft pick. I think that would be a strong tight end room.
Yeah, it absolutely would. It really would. And moving on in my mind, probably the decision I'm most concerned about is left tackle, Alaric Jackson. And he's a
Mm-hmm.
prime example of a guy that you want to bring him back, but what's the price tag? And does Alaric Jackson want to stay with the Rams? And that's always a little bit of a part of it that as fans we tend to forget. Some players see themselves as East Coast guys, other players see them as West Coast guys, see
Uh-huh.
themselves anyways, and some of them are from the South, the Midwest. So who knows if Alaric Jackson is keen on returning? Then we had that 2 game suspension, which kind of poisons the well a little bit. But how do you
Mm-hmm.
feel about the Alaric Jackson and the potential for him leaving?
Well, first I have to say I was pretty surprised at how well he played after seeing him in training camp earlier last season. There was about a 90-minute period where I think that he was a turnstile, and the Rams outside linebackers were getting by him every other play, and I left training camp just shaking my head. I said, I don't know what's going to happen here, but he's been a rock at left tackle. I think he would be worth the money in free agency, because if you wanted to look at outside free agents on the market, and there just isn't much there. I mean, all there are 3 or 4 players that have great experience. They're in their 30s, and they have a very high price tag.
Okay, so I think we're in agreement that bringing back Lyric Jackson should be a really high priority. The wide receiver room, and the one thing about these unrestricted free agents, this group of players is, in my opinion, there's not a lot of critical players, Jackson being one of them. It's just a matter of the volume of players we could lose. And wide receiver is a good example. Demarcus Robinson, Tutu Atwell, and Tyler Johnson. And Tutu Atwell's another guy, he's should be in the prime of his career. He's not getting utilized the way you would hope or expect, at least if you're
Mm-hmm.
Tutu Atwell. So, yeah, these 3 guys are all on the open market. Is there any one of these 3 that you'd like to see come back?
Mm. I have some thoughts on Atwell that when you see him run routes, especially when he's on the outside and he runs 10 to 12 yards upfield at about 75% rate, and then he immediately turns it on for the next 3 to 4 steps, and then he sinks his hip and turns outside. I haven't seen one cornerback being able to stay with him on that route, on that out route. And I think it's phenomenal. I just don't know why McVay doesn't utilize him on routes like that. I think Atwell would definitely be worth the money to keep in house and not let him leave.
Yeah, I guess it's probably going to be up to him how badly he wants to come back. If someone's going to give him an opportunity. I can see a team like the Chiefs being interested in someone like him. And
Yeah.
then I think Demarcus Robinson has been a very good number 3 receiver. And if, depending on the future of Cooper Kupp, we'll talk about him before we're done here.
Mm-hmm.
That could impact the importance of bringing Demarcus back. And
Robinson, I would love to keep as the 3 if he's willing to stay. He should be cap friendly, because I think he's only in about the 3 million range per season. And if they could keep him for the 3 to 4 million range, I think that's definitely doable with the amount of space.
And Jimmy G, we didn't really need him this year, but it sure is. I know some folks are not big fans of him, but you could do a lot worse as your backup quarterback in this offense. And, I don't know, who knows, but if Jimmy G moves on, the Rams have another problem to solve. I don't know if Stetson Bennett's up to it. You want to see Jimmy G come back at the right price, maybe?
Yeah, that would be my preference. That's going to get into possibly a different subject matter with the possible quarterbacks available in the draft that the Rams could look at, considering Stafford's situation. So
yeah. And sometimes I wonder, these NFL teams are pretty savvy at staying in the news. And sometimes I wonder if that's what's going on with the Rams, with Matthew Stafford and these rumors, and Sean McVay too. I'm pretty sure, I'd really be surprised if Stafford didn't come back. Cooper Kupp's another story, but maybe he'll come back with a restructured contract. Just trading Cooper Kupp just doesn't sit well with me. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So let's look at this depth chart without all of these unrestricted free agents. Depth chart without all of these unrestricted free agents. Let me ask you this. I feel like we're really solid along the interior offensive line, but I'm unsure of, on the one hand, I hear people raving about Bo Limmer, and then you read these articles about, they seem to suggest that his performance really wasn't that great, that he was okay, and has really struggled actually in pass protection. Are you settled on Bo Limmer as our center of the future?
Comparing to what the plan was, using a combination of Vila and or Jackson at center, which kind of blew up, did not work out well at all at the start of the season. Considering how well the Rams ran the ball, I thought Limmer was a positive. I would have to say he reached my expectations.
Yeah.
At least, yeah. Yes.
And Jonah Jackson, he kind of fits into that category that you described. Talked about Colby Parkinson. I think I'm still traumatized by a few years back where we had so many injuries to our offensive line. I'm okay with keeping a guy like him around just for insurance, regardless of the price tag. Do you agree, or do you think he's another guy the Rams should hit the escape hatch on?
I would say they've been doing so well in the draft that I'm not too sure. I would be leaning towards moving on from him. I think if they could do a post June 1st cut, they'd save $9 million and put $5 million in the dead pool. So I think this year they're probably going to end up putting a good chunk of money in the dead pool in order to improve the team, and I'm okay with that.
Let's talk about Cooper Kupp a little bit. Who knows, right? He seemed to be struggling at the end of the year with something, getting separation. Is that just wear and tear, or is it, just a cumulative thing where he's not going to really be able to bounce back from that? Maybe the Rams know. I certainly don't know. I like to see him back. He's one of those guys, we'd like to see him restructure, but regardless, I'd like to keep him in a Rams uniform as long as possible. What's your position on Cooper Cup? Have you seen enough of him to tell yourself it's time to move on from Cooper Cup?
He's one of those foundational players that my preference is I would really love to see him retire as a Ram.
Right.
And I would like to look into doing a restructure because 27 million for a guy who's only catching 2 passes a game,
Right.
your team's going to go backwards. You're not going to go forwards. So um,
Yeah, and
second
he's
choice, second choice would be to trade him, but I would prefer to keep him in house because he's such a good, he's such a great teammate and a great leader for the
right.
squad that even if he has a diminished role in the offense and playing a
Yeah.
lot less number of snaps, he's worth to keep on the team, considering that.
So Kyron Williams taking a lot of heat, and statistically, us Ram fans, we know what a great running back he is. And that one fumble, we forget about all those TDs, all those red zone conversions, first down conversions, his nose for the end zone, his ability in the hole to create space, get an extra 5 or 6 yards. But fumbling is an issue. Are you in the move on from Kyron Williams camp, or do the positives still outweigh the negatives?
I think the positives outweigh the negatives. Fumbles are going to happen if you're giving the guy the ball 27 times a game. He's going to end up with a few fumbles, and there's a good chance it's going to happen in the playoffs, unfortunately. But my concerns with the running back room really are
Let me
not
guess.
around.
Let me guess. Let me guess what you're going to say. We need someone with breakaway speed, some breakaway speed in this running back room.
Yeah, you're too good. You read my mind.
No, you've shared this with me. You shared this with me before the season started, and I remember you
Yeah,
pounding the table for a speed back. So I just remember you saying that.
yeah. Talking about examples, there was a play. I think it was against the Eagles, late first half. I think it was the drive where Stafford went to hand the ball to Williams to the right side, and it just shot right out of his hand, and then
Right?
Williams had to go back a few yards and jump on it. I think it was that drive before it was the run that got them into the red zone.
Yeah.
The run went off the left side. There was a defender laying flat on the ground, and he kind of skipped over him, if you recall, and he got
Yeah.
down to about the 8 yard line. When I was watching that play in real time, I was going to go, that should be a touchdown. There's so much
Yeah.
space. And he only got to like the 10 before he got tackled and he ended up at the 8. And um, I was just thinking if the Rams had Jamar Gibbs, that would have been a touchdown.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no,
that
you're right.
that's
And
my
I
thoughts.
remember that play. I do remember
Yeah.
that play. And it was a great run. He went through contact. I think two or three guys
Mm-hmm.
had arms on him. And he did run right over a guy who was already on the ground, but couldn't get, yeah, just didn't have the speed to close the deal. But, Kyron Williams, that playoff game with the Eagles, it's funny what people remember. One writer was talking about how the kids from California can't hang on to the ball in the snow. There were 5 fumbles. The ball hit the ground 5 times in that game. Once was a punt returner for the Eagles. Once was the Eagles quarterback. 2, I put on Matthew Stafford, both of those quarterback fumbles, and then 1 by Kyron. So 5 times the ball hit the ground, 4 times the Eagles recovered. And those are pivotal plays, and um, a lot of luck involved on where that ball bounces and who recovers it. It's just a lot of luck and the ball bouncing your way. And in this game, the ball did not bounce the Rams' way. Eagles put the ball on the ground 2 times. Rams put the ball on the ground 3 times. The Eagles recovered 4 of them. And that was really possibly what decided this game. If Cooper DeJean, when he muffs that punt, if the Rams recovered, that might have been enough for the Rams to win this game. And when Kyron fumbled, the ball took kind of a weird bounce, bounced right to the Eagles, and they recovered another pivotal game-changing play that went in favor of the Eagles. Could have easily went the Rams' way. So I think there's your offensive depth chart, and I think obviously the areas of concern. And I think what we're in agreement on is we got to figure out this wide receiver room, left tackle, and what they do at tight end, and the backup quarterback. But I'd be worried about drafting a backup quarterback. It's either Stetson Bennett or a rookie as your backup, and they may have no choice to go that route, but doesn't give me a warm fuzzy. So let's look at the defensive free agents, the unrestricted free agents on defense. And man, who doesn't love Michael Hoyt at this point? He's never going to make a Pro Bowl fuzzy. Let's look at the defensive free agents and unrestricted free agents on defense. Man, who doesn't love Michael Hoyt at this point? Not
Mhm.
necessarily, he's never going to make a Pro Bowl, but there's a lot to like about him. And
Mhm.
then we got the defensive tackles is going to be an issue. Bobby Brown, Neville Gallimore, Laurel Murchison, two inside linebackers, Troy Reader and Christian Roseboom. I know a lot of people a lot of Ram fans are not going to be overly concerned with that. And then a Killer Witherspoon and John Johnson, both free agents. Let me say this about the cornerback group. We have a lot of bodies, a lot of guys coming back. We got a pretty deep room. We just don't have that, in my opinion, that elite cornerback, and we don't necessarily have to have one, but I'd like to have one. The safety room, not as deep as perhaps a cornerback room, but pretty solid. And the outside linebacker group, really good. And if we bring Michael Hoyt back, man, we'll be in really good shape. When Brennan Jackson is your number 5 outside linebacker behind Keir Thomas, Nick Hampton, I think at this point, and Jared Verse, Byron Young, just forget about it. Those guys are both awesome. And then the interior defensive line, back to that, we just need a big body there, right? Deshaun Johnson, Tyler Davis, Kobe Turner, they're all good players, but we like to rotate that group. So that's an area of concern. So going back to these free agents, who are you prioritizing among these defensive guys that are unrestricted free agents?
On defense, I'm not excited about any of them, maybe except Witherspoon. I think the length that Witherspoon plays with is exceptional, and I think it showed on a lot of plays that he made in the second half of the season. Um, I think he should be affordable to keep. I don't think he's going to be an in demand cornerback on the market. He'd be a second or third tier, but I think he definitely fits the Rams. Michael Hoyt, it would be great to keep. He's kind of like on the defense, kind of like what Cooper Kupp is to the offense. He's a great he's a great team leader.
Yeah, you can tell his teammates love him.
They love him. He's great on special teams. I was looking at his value um, a few minutes ago. I got Alaric Jackson up now, but he would be cheap to keep. But the one player that I like that's on the up and coming is Keir Thomas. Keir has a very stout build, similar to Hoyt, and I think he could probably take over the roles that Hoyt's been playing. So I wouldn't be too concerned if we lost Hoyt to free agency. I would be more considered about a true nose tackle in the middle of the
Right.
defense. I think that's where some of our run difficulty comes from when the offense gets their center or their guard going upfield and taking out our linebackers. That's where I tend to get frustrated. They'll play Bobby Brown even though he's what 6'4", 325 or something like that. They never really truly play him over the center. Um, and force him to take on double teams. He may do it from where he's at, but it's just not. When they have success running the ball, he'll be a part of the play, but he won't be the reason that the play got shut down. So I'm not too sure investing money in Bobby Brown is going to be. I think they need to. I think they need to bring back maybe our boy from Washington who went to my high school.
Greg Gaines. Greg
Greg
Gaines.
Gaines. He's a free agent, and he's still pretty cheap to bring back. I think he was a much better nose tackle and/or draft one. There's one that I particularly like that we'll talk later about. So Gallimore and Murchison, I think, are just I think
rotational
they're just
guys.
role players, second, third string. I think they're decent. I don't know how much I'd want to invest in them for. Gallimore showed well in the playoffs. I'd probably lean more towards him.
Yeah, I could see the Rams using a couple of draft picks on the defensive line, especially the interior defensive line. And the thing about Witherspoon, it's kind of an interesting situation. He always gets picked up late, sometimes after the season has started. And we know the inside linebackers, the Rams just don't prioritize that. There's a couple of inside linebackers in this draft that I would love for the Rams to take a look at. I'd love for them to focus on that position. I mean, I think we're very close to having an elite defense. I think we're missing the big nose tackle, dynamic linebacker, and maybe an elite cornerback. I know that's a lot to ask for, but if you get 2 out of 3 of those, this could be a really great defense. Good defense.
Well,
And
that's
it has
only
good.
3 out of 11, so that's not too much.
Yeah, yeah. But we'll take another look at the depth chart here. You can see a big hole at inside linebacker. I know Omar Space played fine, but still. Outside linebacker looks great. Cornerback, really deep. I'm not sure how much Forbes is going to contribute, if he's going to be a long-term solution for this defense in any way at all. And Kendrick and Tomlinson coming back, so there's that. And I'm leaving off of this. There's a bunch of other guys who signed a futures contract, so they'll be in the mix as well. These are the primary guys that we'll be talking about week 1 of the 2025. Okay, so I put together a little risk assessment, 2025 holes in the roster. And so what I did here for those on the podcast is I assigned a colored risk assessment for each position group. Red meaning that position group is on red alert. Yellow meaning we got some work to do. And green meaning we're in great shape. And on the offensive side, even though people were upset with Kyron Williams, I went with green on the running back room. I think it's pretty solid. Probably need to add a guy, bring Ronnie Rivers back. We'll be okay. Yellow, the quarterback group, assuming Stafford comes back. If he doesn't, that immediately goes to deep red, the deepest red you can find. And then the offensive line, I went with yellow for that group because of the question at left tackle, because we do have the issue there with Alaric Jackson, what's happening with him. Also went with yellow for the tight end group. Right now we have the 3 tight ends, assuming Hunter Long is leaving. And we need a little bit of work with that group. It could be improved. And we know Sean McVay is going to focus on that group. And then at wide receiver, I think that's the only position group I went with red alert for the wide receiver group, because we have 4 guys. Who do we have? We have Cooper Kupp, a diminishing skill set perhaps. Xavier Smith. No knock on Xavier Smith. Wish we had used him more, but I'm not sure if he's up to being a number 3 or 4 wide receiver. So how do you feel, Scott? How do you feel about this assessment? Or would you change any colors or any group that I misjudged?
I think that's a pretty good assessment. Wide receiver, I'm more confident about who they can bring in the off season. So
Yeah.
I just probably wouldn't go into the red on wide receiver. Everything else there I agree with. Quarterback situation, I would say might even be, can we go orange on the quarterback?
Yeah, I could make it striped yellow and orange.
Because you never know if Stafford comes back and says, "That's it, I'm hanging it up." I mean, the Rams are going to be in a world of hurt going into next season.
Well, yeah, and it could be an exciting time, because what's that mean? They're going to go pursue somebody, right? I don't think they're going to roll with Stetson Bennett or a rookie quarterback, right? Got to find somebody. Going to have to find somebody to bring in.
Right, the free agency market. I mean, really the only quarterback that you could look at and say, well, who's closest to who could run this offense? And really Sam Darnold is, and we don't even know if the Vikings are ready to let him walk away yet. So
Right.
I think it would definitely be the draft they would have to rearrange their draft capital to get a quarterback they like, and that'll change the dynamics completely. in the
Yeah, and
off
there's a few
season.
we'll talk about when we get to the mock draft here. We're going to do here
Hmm.
in a second. And then on the defensive side, I the only area I graded as red and is linebacker, and it's you know even though it's red, it's just how much do the Rams care? How much do Ram fans
Hmm.
care about upgrading that position? But the fact is, Jake Hummel and Omar Spates would be our guys, and
Yeah.
then yellow interior defensive line and cornerback. The interior defensive line, I just think we need to add depth there and a big body and cornerback. And some people would probably call cornerback green as if we're in good shape, but I'm just concerned about, we got a lot of players there, a lot of proven talent, but no one close to being elite, pro ball style player. So I guess the only one I'm not really confident about here is the cornerback group. Could be green. How do you feel about my assessment here?
I think I'd have to definitely agree. Cornerback, two of the guys, the existing players, I'm not very high on. I think they should walk away from Deion Kendrick and the other small
Trey
cornerback from
Tomlinson.
TCU,
Trey Tomlinson.
Trey Tomlinson. I just haven't seen enough from Trey Tomlinson to see if it's even worth keeping a roster spot open. I mean, I guess you can keep him on the practice squad, but yeah, I just don't see him cracking the 53 man. I guess you can keep him on the practice squad.
Okay, let's come back in a minute and take care of this mock draft. Okay, folks, we got this set up, our mock draft with Scott, and the way we're going to work this is Scott's making the picks. I may try to talk him into or out of picks. We'll see how it goes. And
Yes.
we're going to try to make a trade with that first round pick if that works. We'll see how that goes as well. And for some reason, I'm still getting the ads on here. I'm not supposed to, but we'll deal with that another time. Okay, you ready to kick this off, Scott?
Let's go.
All right. And I have this on medium speed. You can try to follow along the picks across the top there. And again, if you're listening audio only on the pod, I'll do my best to let you know what the heck's going on. Tyler Warren, the tight end, has just been selected by the Texans. It's the Rams pick. And what you're looking for is you'd like to move down in the first round, right? This is the Rams 26 overall pick. And we have an offer from the Broncos. Probably the only trade we'll make. We don't want to go trade crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Scott's goal here is to move down into the first and pick up a third round pick. And for those of
Yes.
you not following along, not up to speed on the draft yet, I should real quickly capture what the Rams have in this draft. They have a first round pick. They have no second round pick. They traded that away so they could get to Braden Fisk last year, trade to the Panthers. They have their own third round pick. They will get a third round comp pick for the signing of Raheem Morris. They have their own fourth round pick, no fifth round pick, and three sixth round picks, two of them by trade, and no seventh round pick. So I know that's a lot, but it's basically a one, two threes, a four, and three sixes.
Mm-hmm.
I got that right. Okay, so what do we have here? Do you want to reject this trade? We may have to try to look for our own
Yeah,
trade, but
let's go ahead and reject all, and then we'll go and create our own.
okay. Scott's getting over a sickness here, so bear with him. Try to make a trade with someone that has.
Let's look at Kansas City Chiefs.
Okay, they got the 32nd pick in the draft. So is that what
Right.
you're looking for to trade for?
Yes.
So we will trade our first
Mm-hmm.
for their first
First.
and offer up a.
I don't even think we have to offer anything up. If you go to, what's that second or third pick? It's so small I can't see it. I'm sorry. On the Chiefs part?
This, yeah, I'm sorry. That's what I meant. Is the Chiefs are going to have to offer something? The 66th pick.
Yeah. Okay. It says too much, not enough. What's that next one down?
the 96th, and it doesn't let me reset
Yeah, you have
things.
to go out and restart again.
Yeah, let's just redo your own picks, but not the so they got the 96th pick. We went to the first round, number 32 overall, and then are you thinking the number 96 pick overall?
Yeah, let's try that. That should be an even trade.
That's pretty even. Yeah, so we would
Yeah.
move back 6 spots and pick up another third round pick. So we'll go ahead and make that trade.
Yes.
Now, the cornerback out of East Carolina just went,
Hmm.
and so we'll reject these additional trades. We're on the 32nd
Yeah.
pick now,
Correct. Yeah. Let's reject all.
and we're on the clock.
Right.
So, what do you have anyone in mind here, or a position you want me
Well,
to
the
filter
the
by?
for tight end, I really like Harold Fannin Jr. and I think he's down the list a little bit.
Yeah, 53rd overall. He had a monster. What bowl game was that?
The only thing I would also consider here would be is if I'm sure he's gone, but I'm sure Malachi Starks went. The safety from Georgia went much earlier in the draft. Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
The only other
I'm just not sure
position,
the Rams would draft a safety that early, though, would they?
yeah. Well,
Certainly not.
kind of like there's. I'll bring something up really quick. A comparison: the Lions. The Lions have two great players. I've been bringing up Jamar Gibbs, having that lightning quickness as a running back, but they also drafted the safety from Alabama, Branch,
Right.
and he really is a cog in that defense. He can play center field. He can line up and cover receivers in the slot. He can play cornerback. Their defensive backfield really got strong when they got him, and I think Malachi Starks from Georgia is that player. And so when you say we don't have an elite cornerback, somebody like that you could put back, and I think that would really make the Rams' defensive backfield
This
elite.
gives your this gives your secondary a lot more flexibility, which we already have that a little
Yeah,
bit with Quentin Lake. But yeah, another guy like that would be
a lot more
great.
flexibility when the way that McVay likes to use the Fangio defense, where he's hiding what the defensive backfield is doing at the snap or changing it. A player like that really fits in because you can flip them from zone coverage into man coverage, or just play cover four and have them cover one particular uh, part of the field. I really like that. But getting back to this pick, I'm leaning towards either offensive tackle or tight end. So can we look at the offensive tackles?
You got Mr. Ursery. I'm not going to mess with
Nursery.
that first name.
Yes.
I'm going to take a guess here. Ariante?
Hmm.
Ariante Ursery,
Yes.
offensive tackle out of Minnesota. Cameron Williams out of Texas. Wyatt Millum out of West Virginia. You want to look at the tight ends real quick?
Yeah. There's a my favorite tackle is still there. I don't think it would be realistic. I think after the Senior Bowl, I think he's going to be a top 20 pick. Wyatt Malum out of West Virginia.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he's there. Um,
Yeah.
so here's a thought. Are you drafting a right tackle to replace Rob Havenstein? Are you drafting a swing tackle to back up Alaric Jackson and Havenstein, assuming we're going to bring back Jackson? Or are you drafting our left tackle of the future?
He could be the left tackle of the future. So um, if they decided, let's say this situation came up where Jackson and the Rams couldn't agree on a contract, so the Rams decided to tag him and just pay
Oh,
him for
okay.
one season at the top rate. Well, if you drafted somebody like Milam, he could come in and play swing for one season while Jackson played left tackle, and then you'd have a better idea. And then if you agree to long term, um, if you get a deal done long term with Jackson, then you have somebody who can step in and replace Havenstein if his play starts to deteriorate next season due to his age.
Yeah, that's true. If you brought back Jackson, regardless of how you got it done, and drafted a promising rookie, you're really solid on the interior offensive line already. This would be a 8, 9, 10 deep offensive line group, which is, man, that's a real key to success. And I will say, I love Harold Fannin as well. My concern about him is he's pretty lean, right? He's
Well, he's lighter than usual, but he still has a strong build. He's what 6'4", 234, I believe.
yeah,
But he's a very accomplished blocker. He's very highly graded. So
yeah,
the way the Rams use their tight ends, they might not be in line, but they might go in motion and at the snaps, seal off a defender somewhere on the right side, around where the right tackle would be. Either a wham block or just a seal block. He would be more than capable of doing that. I think he's way more accomplished in that aspect of his game than Loveland. I see Loveland as just a glorified slot receiver because he can't block at this point of his career.
so where are you going to go here? You're going to go offensive tackle, or it seems like you're want to either Fannin or Milam,
Um,
but you don't think Milam is a realistic pick here. By the time the draft comes around, he's going to be gone by here.
yeah, I think he is. I'm going to lean towards going with Harold Fannin.
Okay, and I've run a couple mocks where I've gone tight end as well. So okay, that's a selection, and that's an
Yeah,
exciting pick. Um, it's an exciting pick because it's just a guy that could really juice up this
yeah.
offense. And
Tell you
he's
what,
got
can you run a pause right now on the draft
absolutely
to see if there was what number of that's Detroit at what pick?
number round two, number 60 overall.
Round two, number 60. Can you look at wide receivers right now?
There you go. You
Isaiah
got Isaiah
Bond.
Bond, Xavier Restrepo, Jaden
Oh,
Higgins, Savion Williams, Jalen Royals is a guy that I
uh,
also like. I think I've mocked to him to the Rams a couple of times. He just seems to fall into their lap with that their first
yeah.
or third round pick.
I think, can you scroll down just a little bit?
Got Tez Johnson out of Oregon, Kyron Lacey out of LSU, Ty Felton out of Maryland. That's going to
Yeah.
be one of Paul's Puka Power picks, I think. Torrey Horton out of Colorado State.
Yeah, Brian.
Are you thinking of trading up
Oh,
into the
I see
second?
him. I'm looking at Jack Besh at 122, so he's there. I think we're fine. Um, can you look at cornerbacks? There's a particular cornerback from Florida State that I really like. I think it would be great for the
Oh,
Rams.
those players from Florida State never work out. I don't see him. Maybe he was
Azare
taken.
Thomas. He might already have been picked. Oh, I
Oh,
see. You've
there he
got it.
is. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he's already
He
been
was
picked.
selected.
Okay. So we start with Denzel Burke and Alexander and
But we're
let's see
on
where
pick 60. We're like 30 picks away. Seems like there's a lot of guys
yeah.
that you'd be happy to select
Hmm.
at number 90 overall. No,
How about can you go defensive line?
got T.J.
TJ
Sanders out of
Sanders.
South Carolina, Alfred
Yeah, there's
Collins.
there's nobody there that I really care for. The player that I'm looking for is a nose tackle from Oregon, Caldwell. But I don't think he's more of a fifth or sixth round pick, so he's a
Oh,
bit
okay.
down the list, which we can get later. Um, I think we can let it roll till the next pick.
And I've run a couple mocks where I've gone tight end as well. So okay, that's a selection, and that's an
Yeah,
exciting pick. Um, it's an exciting pick because it's just a guy that could really juice up this
yeah.
offense. And
Tell you
he's
what,
got
can you run a pause right now on the draft? I see.
What are you looking at here?
Can we take a look at two positions? Can we look at linebacker and then quarterback?
Linebacker, you got Barrett Carter out of Clemson, Lander
Uh-huh.
Barton out of Utah, Carson Schwessinger out of UCLA. He's really on the
Excellent.
light side. I think he's in the 220s. Danny
He's about
Stutzman,
230.
is he? Danny Stutzman out of Oklahoma.
You know what? I'm really high on Barrett Carter from Clemson. I think he brings an element of speed that this uh, linebacker room hasn't seen. He's good in coverage. I want to go Barrett Carter.
So is he, you see him as a 3 down linebacker?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. All right. And got an A plus for that one. So we are on the 96 pick. This is the pick we got from the Chiefs. And we have another pick in 4 picks. We have number 100 as well.
Yeah. Can you take a
So
look at offensive tackle?
Ernest Green out of Georgia, Chase Lunt out of
Chase
UConn,
Lunt. Yes.
Jack Nelson, Wisconsin. Are we done with Wisconsin offensive linemen yet?
No, boy, I really like Nelson would to be able to come in and take over for Havenstein. I just don't know if they would want to invest the third round pick at this time, not knowing how
Well, he'll
long.
probably be there at number 100 and potentially at 125 as well.
Yeah. Um, Chase Lunt is interesting out of Connecticut because he could play, or Yukon, I should say. He's somebody who has the skills to play both positions. He could possibly be a replacement for Noteboom, to be able to play swing.
Yeah.
If we let Noteboom walk, he's at 114. Let's roll the dice. Can we take a look at quarterback?
Riley Leonard out of Notre Dame. It's still early. It's early for any of these guys, in my opinion. No.
Yeah. Okay, let's wait on that. How about let's look at wide receiver?
I was going to ask you to look at wide receiver. I want to look at wide receiver. A
Uh-huh.
couple of really good players here. The top two are,
This is a little early, but I want Jack Besh, TCU. He fits the mold of the typical Cooper Cup, Puka Nakua. He's the perfect mold. He's the same size. He's very strong. He's a great possession receiver, great route runner. He had over 1,100 yards at TCU this year.
okay. That's a
I think he would.
selection.
Yeah, that's my selection. I think he would be, if for some reason Cooper Cup falls off the face of the earth, this guy would be the closest replica.
I'm not trading with the 49ers. I don't care what they're offering.
Yeah.
So far we have a wide receiver and a tight end, and that alleviates two concerns really.
Mm-hmm.
Juices up the passing game, given we have some unknowns with both those groups,
Mm-hmm.
and we added a linebacker who has a really good chance of starting on day one.
Oh yeah, he's an immediate upgrade over anything the Rams have. How about cornerback? Can we go back to look at cornerbacks?
Zy
Zy
Alexander out of LSU, Mello Dotson out of Kansas, Quincy Riley out of Louisville. Oh, there's a Kobe Bryant in this draft.
Kobe Bryant, yeah.
This is
Mello
going to be so
and
confusing.
yeah, Mello Dotson and Kobe Bryant have played together almost 4 years together in Kansas. They're probably one of the best pairs. Cornerback Mello Dotson's really good. I think he fits what the Rams do. I think he can play both zone and man coverage. I want to go with Mello Dotson is my pick.
And is he a CB1?
Well, he could be. He could be. He's probably not as elite as you would hope, but to me, I'd rather have a stable of like 4 or 5 good cornerbacks than just one great one and 3 average ones. So the way they like to play defense, I think he fits what they do perfectly.
Yeah, and they have survived. They've been very competitive without elite cornerbacks.
Yeah.
Jalen Ramsey is probably the last one, and I don't even know if he qualifies as a cornerback the way the Rams used him, but he's definitely a cornerback. So we have
so
2
we're on
offense
our
and 2 defense so far.
and we're on our 4th round
Aren't it?
pick, right? 124.
Right. We still haven't addressed nose tackle.
Hmm.
We have not added a running back, which we probably should do.
I'm
Potential.
looking. I'm looking in the sixth round for that.
Okay.
My nose tackle, I think, is there in the sixth. We got our corner.
Do you want to look at those offensive tackles you had your eye on?
Yeah, let's go back to tackles.
Did we miss out on? We missed out on Millum. And where's was the Wisconsin guy still there? Yeah,
Jack Nelson's
Wisconsin's
there.
still
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Let's look at quarterback.
Riley Leonard's still there. Still
Kyle
pretty.
McCord is the quarterback that I like out of the bunch, and I just don't think he would be there later on. I want to go ahead and select Kyle McCord. I think he could be a quarterback of the future,
Okay.
sitting behind
Kyle,
Stafford for a season.
you're gonna get a bad grade for this. Just
Oh,
telling you.
I don't care about their grading
I know.
system.
I know. I know. Okay, so we have so far we have a quarterback, wide receiver, and tight end on the offensive side of the ball, a linebacker, and a cornerback. So in my mind, if it were me, if you were Les Snead, I'd be whispering in your ear, defensive line, running
Hmm.
back, and I would not have a problem with selecting a second wide receiver as well.
Hmm.
But it's your draft. It's your draft, Scott. What do you want to do?
Yeah, let's look at defensive line.
JJ Pegus. How do you say that? Man, we need more John Smiths. Defensive lineman out of Mississippi. Jordan Phillips, defensive lineman out of Maryland. Elijah Roberts, defensive lineman out of SMU. John Marie Caldwell out of
Jamari
Oregon.
Caldwell, that's my guy. He's a
It's not
6'1", 340-pound nose tackle. He would be at least as good as what Greg Gaines was in our defense. And you're getting him in the sixth round. So let's go with Jamari Caldwell.
And that is a selection, and that definitely fills a need. Again, the Rams have some talented guys. They just need more. They just need more guys.
Let's look at running back.
You know, Jacavius Marks. I think Woody Marks is similar to Corum and Williams. Probably a better
Mhm.
receiver than either of them. Um,
Yeah.
but that doesn't solve your problem of the whole new
Uh,
roster as far as a
yeah.
speed factor.
Let's look at Brashard right underneath Marks. He's a converted wide receiver to running back. He's got 4.4 speed, 5'11", almost 200 pounds. He's a very highly rated runner and a much higher graded receiver, and he can also pass protect at that slider build. I think he gives them that. I think when you put him in, you give him 8 to 10 snaps a game. I think he can give you that electric playmaking ability like Gibbs does with the Lions.
Yes,
Brashard Smith, I'm really high on. I'd like to pick Brashard Smith, SMU.
Eric Dickerson will love that pick, huh?
Yeah.
So let's do a review here. At back-to-back picks there, we've addressed a lot of holes on this roster. Wide receiver and tight end, defensive line. We have not drafted a single offensive lineman. And this is our last pick, number 203 overall. I don't know what you're going to get as far as offensive line at this point in the draft. What do we have? This is our last pick, number 203 overall. I don't know what you're going to get as far as the offensive line at number 203.
Let's take a
What are you
look.
thinking here? You want to look at offensive
Let's look
line?
at tackles.
Can we look at wide receivers real quick?
Sure.
He's gone now, but I wanted to ask your opinion on a guy that I drafted on a whim in the last draft. I didn't know who he was. And I decided I'm just going to take another wide receiver. And that was Nick Nash out of San Jose State. And researched this guy afterwards. Pretty impressive resume. And a lot to like about this guy. I was wondering if you had an opinion on Nick Nash, the wide receiver out of San Jose State. It seems like a good 6th round option for a team like the Rams.
I like him. I'm not too sure he fits the mold of the usual. I like him. I'm not too sure he fits the mold of the usual type Rams receiver, but I think if you use them in the 11 personnel, you're probably going to have to use them out wide more often than you use Nakua and Cup and Whittington, because I don't think he has the frame to withstand all the contact in the middle part of the field. And he's not that great of a blocker yet. So he might have to be used kind of like the way our little guy,
Tutu Atwell.
the way Tutu is. Tutu only gets a handful of snaps a game. He has to be used. You have to put him in motion. You have to keep him away from the middle part of the field.
Okay, I'm sorry. What I got you off track. What did you want to look at here? Were we looking at offensive line?
You wanted to look at receivers. I was willing to see if there was one that I thought would be a good late round.
If I was going to say, if you picked Nick Nash, I was going to go jump in my swimming pool.
Oh,
And
okay.
I don't even have a swimming pool. Um, I hopefully you get the reference there to the
Yeah.
I already forget his name, the offensive lineman out of Wisconsin that we drafted that did not work out.
Wide
So you want to look
receivers.
at offensive tackle or
Let's look at wide receivers. I didn't get a chance to see.
LeJante Webster? I'm sorry, LeJante Wester out of Colorado.
Yeah, I think he's a
Ja'Cory
speedster. Can you
Brooks out of
scroll down a little
Louisville.
bit?
And
Jimmy Horn, Badger, Deion Burks.
I'm not well versed on any of these guys quite yet.
Joe Brooks. Brown out of Miami is interesting. Corey Franklin.
We're almost to the 400s.
Yeah, let's look at. Let's go back to tackle.
Jalen Rivers out of Miami. Trey Wedig out of
Wedding,
Indiana.
Indiana.
Gerard Christian Lichtenhahn out of Oregon State. Jalen Travis, Iowa State. Dalton Cooper, Oklahoma State. Bryce Benhart, Nebraska. What are you thinking here? Seems like they're well, who would be a value here? None of them is necessarily.
Jalen Rivers could be a good developmental swing tackle. He would need some work. I don't know if they would really provide any value any higher than Leviston, who they already drafted last year. That's why I don't know. You could probably get better value out of looking out of a cornerback or another linebacker, I think.
Yeah, looking at this board, there's a lot of value at defensive line. Let's look at linebacker for you. Just going by the numbers here, none of them are great value.
There's a couple of cornerbacks that I think that should be available. I think that would be a great upgrade over Kendrick and some of the others.
Okay, we got Justin Wally out of Minnesota, Jabbar Muhammad out of Oregon, Jordan Hancock, Ohio State, Brandon Adams, UCF.
Tommy Hill is still there. Interesting. He is a great defender. He's kind of underdeveloped as a cornerback, but he has a very strong build. He's very good against the run. He could kind of be like your joker on the defense. I would really like him. There's a player that is probably further down the list that comes from South Carolina, O'Donnell Fortune. Very highly rated cornerback that for some reason this particular draft service doesn't put very much value in him, but I really like him. Great size. He's 6'1", 195. Very highly rated on PFF. But there's another player that I think that would add a lot of value to the linebacking core. If you go to the linebackers, there's a kid from There's a kid probably a little bit further down the list. He's from Auburn.
We're looking, we're looking. Auburn, Auburn, Auburn. Where are you?
He must be
Eugene
pretty far.
Asante? Eugene Asante?
No, it must be
It's not
further
him.
down. Yeah, go further down.
Wesley Bizant
Unless he was
Bizantha?
drafted already. I doubt it.
Let's look.
He might be in the 300s.
You say he's out of, oh, there he is, Jalen McLeod. Yeah, he was
Jalen
already
McLeod, they
drafted.
was already drafted. He is a great. He's played both linebacker positions at Auburn. He's played off ball in the middle. He's played outside linebacker. A very highly rated pass rusher. He's very good in coverage, pass coverage. He's somebody who could come in and be one of your special teams aces and be your second or third inside linebacker, and then you could also use him on in blitz packages, pass rush packages, second and long, third and long.
Oh, okay.
Um, he would be a great chess piece on the defense, but he's already picked. I would be
You're not
inclined.
interested in adding another defensive lineman to this group?
I think the guys that played the defensive tackle position for the Rams, I think they're pretty well. I think we're pretty well stocked. I don't know, unless we could find another. The player we got from Clemson last year, Davis, who's a good run.
Tyler,
He's a good
yeah,
run
yeah,
stuffing
he
tackle.
had a decent year, yeah.
But I do prefer just straight nose tackles for the Rams 3-4. So there was a couple players that I like, but they're probably drafted. Like my favorite 3-4 end is probably the guy from Oregon, which would be Jordan Birch, and he probably went in the probably third to fourth round.
Okay.
So let's go back to cornerback.
Good
Just a
value there.
while.
Justin Wally out of Minnesota, Jabbar Muhammad out of Oregon, Jordan Hancock, Ohio State,
Tommy Hill.
Tommy Hill. You keep
I
on
like Tommy
saying his
Hill.
name.
He would be a great he would be a
I,
great addition to the backfield, being able to both provide run support he's very good in zone coverage.
I seem to
Um,
remember something about him, and he strikes me as one of those guys that just makes splash plays, usually more uh, as far as big hits and
he
such.
can hit.
Is that a good
He's a good
description
tackler.
of
He
him?
can hit hard. He can create plays. He's strong. Um, he's athletic. He'd
Play.
probably be one of your more athletic defensive backs. Um, him
Okay, you want
available in
to
the
make?
sixth round, I think, is a very good value.
So we're going to make that selection.
Yes, please.
So I'm going to go ahead and pause this so we can take a look at this. Our official number 3 mock draft of the year. I think it's number 3. Not even sure about that. So to rehash this, we selected the dynamic tight end Harold Fannin Jr. out of Bowling Green. He is quite the physical specimen. You're looking for a pass catcher, a guy that can get it done in the receiving game, and an excellent blocker, super athlete. I think Sean McVay and Ram fans are going to love this guy. Then we took Barrett Carter, the 3-down linebacker, and then he's out of Clemson. Then Jack Beck, the wide receiver out of TCU. And Scott just feels like he's just another typical Rams wide receiver in that Cooper Kupp, Puka Nakua mode. Knows how to block, team guy, route runner. And then the cornerback Mello Dotson out of Kansas, the 100th pick overall. And then Kyle McCord, a quarterback out of Syracuse. Hey, tell us a little bit about this guy.
Um, Went through a little bit of adversity. He was the quarterback at Ohio State the previous year. Went through some adversity, transferred to Syracuse, ended up breaking the ACC passing record this past season. He seems to be very mobile. He's not as fast as some of the other quarterbacks, but he's the type of guy you could feel confident if it was 3rd and 8 and everybody's covered, he's going to get you the first down with his legs. He can maneuver in the pocket. He's very accurate. has a much stronger arm than Stetson Bennett. Um, he's somebody I would feel confident in if he was. You give him a full year to develop, he could probably run this offense um, much better than Stetson Bennett, I believe.
Okay, I was unfamiliar with him. I'll start doing some homework. Defensive lineman Jamari Caldwell out of Oregon, Brashard Smith, the running back, speedster running back, and then the versatile cornerback, big hitter Tommy Hill. So, how do you feel about it? You like this draft? You're the one that made the selection, so I suppose that you like this draft really well.
Yeah, I like the depth for the cornerback room. Um, Immediate upgrade to inside linebacker. Um, we got another wide receiver that fits what McVay does. We got a nose tackle that'll help take on double teams and hopefully protect those inside linebackers. Um, Brashard Smith is going to bring some a change of pace to the running back room. Give McVay more passing options on second and long, third and long, and and gives McVay what he's been looking for the last 2 years: a high end, highly productive playmaking tight end that's good with the ball in his hands in open space.
The one thing we didn't address at all was the offensive line, and I'm okay with that, especially along the interior. And, I hadn't really even considered the possibility of tagging Alaric Jackson. And they may have to do something like that. They just may have no choice. I mean, to me, that's the number one priority is making sure that position is nailed down, left tackle. And if you bring back Alaric Jackson, problem solved. I'm still pretty disappointed he was suspended those 2 games, though.
The only thing I could say is if we ran this draft again, there's a good chance I'm going to select the tackle out of West Virginia, Milam, in that position, and then draft a tight end later, possibly like an Orlando Gadsden out of Syracuse, probably.
And you're right. What tight end you have might not matter much if you don't have the right left tackle. Hey, Scott, this was fun. Thanks a lot. We'll have you back and do another one sometime. Paul and I will be doing some mock drafts, of course. And we're also going to be doing some live streaming moving forward. That should be a lot of fun. We have one scheduled right now for February 12th. That's the Wednesday after the Super Bowl.
I look forward to that.
That live stream will basically be looking back at the 2024 season and looking ahead to the 2025 league year. Okay, Paul.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Scott. I'll let you go. And hey, thanks a lot for your time. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Mark and Ram Nation, for watching and listening.
Okay, out here.